Guys here, sorry for no long upload, as you can probably still tell and you can see from my fresh as fuck look. I've been ill for the past few days. I tried to record something yesterday or the day before that, and after 2 minutes my body just stopped working. I was tearing the shit out of myself. I had to cough so bad and I couldn't really live for 10 minutes straight. So it was probably a good thing not to record, but now we are back and we are giving you finally a Brave Spright run up at a deck list for the current format. And before we go into the actual deck list, I've got something prepared for you guys to give you my thought process of why I think Brave Spright might actually be good. And if you really like the way I did it in this video, definitely let me know in the comment section below, because I will do it more in the future if you really enjoyed. So without further ado, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave some feedback down below in the comment section, and let's get right into the video. So before we get into the actual profile, let's take a look at Brave Spright, post and pre Darkwing Blast, and see why it really didn't take off, what it gained in Darkwing Blast, and how I think the future of Brave Spright is going to look. So why wasn't Brave Spright really played that much, and why it was always like the least played and the least favored Spright variant out there? Well, most importantly, Spright doesn't extend past a certain point. That's why you see as a Spright is actually a very good engine in decks like Tier Elements, because Spright has a very clean way of getting into the engine. It's super easy to get there with Gigantic, with Elf, Milling, Blue, stuff like that. So it's very easy to get there, and it does add a lot of value immediately. But past that, past the standard board of Elf, Toad, and the Smashes, or whatever you want there, it doesn't really do a lot past that, and the problem starts exactly there, because the way Brave Spright is built with the Nimble package, with the Brave package, and the Spright package, it oftentimes will have all three of these components, but you can't really do a lot with them. You have so much gas in there, but going first, you can't extend past Griffin, Toad, and maybe even Gin Buster, plus the set, and that's it. And then you become really prone to all of these blowout cards, because you can't extend past that. You would have so much, but you can't really do a lot with it. This is where the main problem of the deck lies, where going first, if you don't get hand trapped and you open the nuts, you can't really do a lot with the deck. Add to that the Brave bricks in a long tournament, they can definitely add up. And also, not only the bricks, but the times where you don't draw the Brave cards, or where you draw too many Brave cards, because you kind of need to maximize now just so you're able to see them. And it all becomes a little like playing the lottery, and like playing a bad Tier Elements deck, basically. And maybe even more importantly than the Brave bricks, definitely more important than the Brave bricks, is that you have very little room for defensive cards, making it so that while the deck is inherently very good going second, because Rite of Artemis is just an insane card into any board, it forces out a lot of pressure. It does have a less good time against very combo heavy decks, which maybe go for an FTK like route, for example, like the Spell Cancel, Tier Elements variants, stuff like that. So it definitely had its very big weaknesses into the meta. But that changes now with Darkwing Blast, mostly with Spright Sprint. It is an insane card. Not only is it a very good way to increase the Spright ceiling, giving you a bounce in your opponent's turn, giving you a bounce in your turn if you already have, for example, have a normal summon Beaver and you already got through the Nimble package. So you can now use Spright to set up a bounce on the opponent's turn, or in your turn, both. That's really good, but most importantly, it makes it so that Spright combos kind of work very generically like a Verta Anaconda thing, where you only need one extra body plus any level 2, making it so that the Spright engine uses extra generic bodies way better than it did before. Before, you could only realistically go into an Elf or into a Dark, making it so that you only with setup in the game could get into the Spright engine. Now, if you have Right plus Blue plus Enchantress, which would have been a decent hand before, it's actually full combo with hand trap protection now, which is really good. So not only is Spright Sprint an amazing toolbox tool, but most importantly, it opens up combos which Spright didn't have before, from the requirements perspective, where you only need one extender plus any level 2 to basically have full combo. Add to that, of course, the still very natural synergy with the Nimble package, especially Nimble Angler, plus the Brave cards is really good. And also, Spright lines are actually kind of fragile, because you go into a lot of bodies before you go into Gigantic, making it so that you are accessible for Nibiru. Having the Griffin setup early on is really helpful in that, making so that your Spright lines actually resolve the sprint line, sorry. Also, the new trip is kind of cute, where it facilitates a very clean disruption and also gives you some more sealing into your endboard, where it's just a little stronger. It's a trait all of the Spright engines have, but it's still nothing to scoff at. Even though a lot of the hand trap variants are not running the trap right now, in my opinion, the trap in the Brave engine is definitely really good. But we'll get to that later. Also, we talked about Spright Sprint opening up very generic lines into Spright combos, and generic cards in Darkwing Blast are actually kind of nuts. Of course, we have Fenry, a free body, plus it searches itself, so it replaces itself. Not only is it a discard for the Fateful package, it's a free extender if you are lacking combo, but most importantly, if you already have combo, you will just leave it on the board and you have an additional disruption in your opponent's turn, which is crucial, making so that in a pinch, it's an additional extender to combo, and if you high roll, you can make very good use of it because it's an extra disruption on the board. Bisted cards are also really good for and against Spright. They're good for the Spright because they are like kind of like low impact hand traps, which are high upside, making it so that in a deck where you have very little room for defensive cards, it doesn't feel bad to play them. So that's really good, especially with tier being more popular and popular. You can just play these and you have a DD Crow on crack, and they're also kind of good against Spright themselves because they're like very good big beat sticks. To take, so they can just force a shit ton out of disruption out of the Spright player, and the Brave variant just plays a little better into them just because we have a Brave engine which cannot be run over by one Bisted card, making it so that you are not as prone to the battle phase as other Spright variants. Also, blowout cards, which are very popular right now in Evenly, and Dark Rulers picking up some popularity again, are just a little less good against the Brave Spright deck, just because we have a lot of Omni Negates with the Griffin and the Toad, and you have ways to play around Dark Ruler quite effectively, not being reliant on drawing like 2 to 3 hand traps to have a chance against a Dark Ruler. Because you can, of course, bounce the Griffin with the Swap Frog. So all of these things are speaking for Brave Spright variant right now. But not everything is looking crispy clean. The lottery feeling is still definitely there because you're maxing out the Brave package. Sometimes you just don't draw it, only draw a Draco back, only draw an adventure, or you draw adventure with a ride or something like that, where you just are lacking just a few cards in your hand and just feeling not too good. Also, hand traps, at least for now, are looking very good. I think this might change with the Ishizu support coming out. But hand traps are not right now are feeling very solid. Take a look at YCS Minopolis, where a lot of hand trap Spright variants or hand trap Spright Bisted variants are wet topping. So it definitely can be a hindrance to your gameplay if you're playing Brave right now. And Ishizu support will come out, and this is also like a big question mark in the meta of how Brave Spright or Pure Spright will do in this format. But honestly, it's a solid deck backed by the Spright engine, so you have an all-in approach to the game where you just gas out, kind of like the base deck. You don't have an auto-win, but if you use your disruptions wisely, you will definitely have enough follow-up or enough gas on the crackback to just kill out the opponent. It makes very good use of all of the meta staples. I would say it's definitely up there of how it uses the most most busted generic cards right now, and it's a very high skill ceiling because you're not just hand trapping your opponent at X point. You kind of basically have to gas through the board. It's definitely doable. It's just a little less gassy than T elements, and it kind of feels like a slightly worse variant of like an all base type T elements deck where you have like Tia, Spright, Bisted cards, Brave cards, kind of like what Thrift Gaming is playing right now, but definitely is a very fun deck to play, and I can only highly encourage you guys to it. And let's get right into the profile with all of this information you just got. So here we are finally in the profile, and first of all, I'm sorry I can't give this profile with real cards. My Fenrys were scheduled to arrive today, but I don't know where they are. They haven't arrived yet, so I'm just gonna do the dueling book. Yeah, so quick heads up before we actually start the profile. This is by no means the most fleshed out definitive version of it. I'm still testing a little bit here and there, as the dueling book meta is quite different from a meta on the real tournament. So there might be some tweaks you want to do on this meta. For example, currently main decking evenly for my locals just because there's so many like Eldritch players and stuff like that. So I'd rather have evenlies over talents. But other than that, I'm also still testing with one illegal knight in the side deck, just putting it in, and see how it feels, how often it does come up going second where you want to have that. So I'm still testing, but overall the core of this deck feels very good to me. So let's go card by card. For the Spright engine, I'm actually running a quite standard Spright package with 3 starter, 3 blue, 3 jet, 1 red, and 1 double cross. I am actually just citing the carrot because I ran into space issues and carrot just rarely ever came up. The only thing carrot might come up for is starter into carrot, but at that point, 9 out of 10 times you want to starter for a red in the opponent's turn because the spell Trap Negate usually will come on quite early in the current meta, with most spells you want to negate being either a starter or a tier elements field spell. So they come out quite early, so you will have a Griffin or a Toad for that, or you will have none for it. So the carrot doesn't really come up all too often. I'd rather just have it for a side deck against the matchups where I want it for going first. I also have no smashes in the main deck just because the way the main combo of the decks work, double cross is just more alive than it smashes in the main combo. And right now you will most of the time will get your combo through, or if you get disrupted, you can make your plans accordingly. So that way double cross will be alive, and also just minuses you less. And the upside of smashers, where you can use it going second with starter, doesn't really come up a lot in this deck because you are playing the Brave stuff and the Fenry stuff, so you want to commit those before you go for the starter. So at that point, smashes and starters is the third card you activate in the turn. At that point, I think the smash is just too late going second, so it won't give you nearly as much value as if you go draw phase starter and you smash or something in the draw phase, for example. So that's the reason. And also with the Brave engine being so good against back row cards, you don't need the added benefit which Smashers gives you in clearing back rows. So I'm very fine with just playing this Spright package, and I'm honestly considering cutting even lower on the Spright package. Going back to the thought process that this feels more like a combo deck, and you don't really play too much Spright, so maybe even cutting a second Spright Jet, cutting one Spright Jet for going 2 Spright Jet might be the play. But honestly, a lot of times I'm still struggling to win games where I don't draw a single Spright name in my hand, so maybe you shouldn't cut them. For this Brave package, all maxed out, 3 Enchanters, 3 Ride, 1 Foolish Burial. You just need to see a way into your Brave package because it's just so strong and helping you facilitate playthrough stuff, have additional disruption through a Dark Ruler, being insane going second, stuff like that. It also, most importantly, turns dead cards like Draco back and Griffin into okay cards. Griffin actually becomes insane to draw on with this because then you have an additional extender to do full combo, stuff like that. You just need to see them. Also, Foolish Burial is extra good because you can send Angler to basically have a pseudo starter. 1 Fateful, 1 Draco back. No need to play more than that. For the Nimble package, I was playing 3 Beaver for the longest time, but I was only playing 1 Angler. Because you don't really want to see them, but at some point you just need to have some form of level 2 names in your hand. So ultimately I decided to play the 3-2 ratio. So in a pinch, if you only have normal summon Beaver, you can normal summon Beaver, summon Angler out of the deck, go into Sprint, and then Sprint send Angler to summon the other Beavers out of the deck. So I at least have that ratio for me available, so I can always go for that play if I draw 1 Beaver and I need to normal summon it. 2 Swap Frogs. Pretty standard, I would say. Some people are playing 3 Swap Frogs, so you can use Toad in the Stamper phase to summon one out of the deck, so you have a free Smasher target. Us not playing Smashers, we don't need that, so we just are on the 2 Swap Frog because these are probably the brickiest card with the Draco back, and we kind of want to minimize our bricks in this variant. 3 Prosperity. I was playing no Prosperity for a while, but honestly, it's just so important to see your pieces. It's important to see side deck cards, post side, of course. It's important to see Brave cards, and it's important to see Spright cards. So ultimately, I switched a lot of ratios here and there, cutting down on some of the packages. For example, I was playing Double Cross plus Smashers for a while and the Carrot, and ultimately I decided to make some space here and there so I can fit in the 3 Prosperities because it's just so important to see them. And then for the defensive cards, 3 Fenry, insane card, like I said earlier, free extender, free disruption tool, insane going second, all you really want in a card, 3 droplet and 3 talents. These are my going second staples for now. Like I said, on a local I would play Evenlies over talents. Depending on your local meta, you might want to switch these out, but droplet I feel like is mandatory because it's just so good generically and plays so well with Enchantress, with Angler, with all of the spells which we are playing, so definitely a very good thing. For my side deck, Against back row, let's just put them here. You kind of only really want to side out these three. It's these six, sorry, for one Cosmic, one Smashers, one Carrot, and then three evenly. Everything else can kind of stay in. Most of the time, a Fenrir will be fine against a back row deck because it, of course, has this effect to banish floodgates or banish like open face up cards on the field, so it's still not bad. It is also just an extender, depending on the variant, of course. For example, if it's like a Mystic Mine deck, like Mystic Mine Sky Striker, you probably want to keep in the droplets. If Tenants is alive against a deck, for example, against Flunder, you can keep these in. Stuff like that definitely should be kept in mind, but honestly, against a stun deck, we can take out these and put in these, so we are fine. We'll also have Judgment for going first. Same reason you can put them in. For example, if they play a lot of Floodgates, you can then cut out the Fenrir and put the Judgments in, so you have a better protection against that. And for going first, this card is just generically very good right now. It does suck a little bit against the elements, but for Dueling Book, I just wanted something very generically good going first. And oftentimes you don't have a card in hand at the end of the combo, so I am not playing a pointer. So yeah, Judgment is doing good. For Bisted cards, I'm playing 2 Magnamoot and 1 Druid Worm. They're really good against Math Mag and most importantly the elements, of course. You can put them in going first and going second against them and have a very good time. So good that I almost want to main deck them, but I just don't see the space, and these are just generically more applicable. And then lastly, 3 Dark Ruler, because there's a lot of Spright running around on the on Dueling Book ladder right now, and having a Dark Ruler against them just simplifies the game states immensely, making the board way easier to break. And this is where a card like Illegal Light would be coming in clutch, which is why I kind of want to fit it in, but I don't know how, because just Dark Ruling the board and then Illegal Lighting it, bouncing 2 cards and bounce your Illegal Light back is so strong against so many decks. So yeah, definitely would like to play this, but I'm not too sure about it. For the extra deck, 3 Elf mandatory, 1 Sprint, you don't really need more than that. The second never really came up, so I will definitely not play it. 1 Dark, very decent card, of course. 1 Asa, because as you can see, the Brave token is Earth, and Fenrir is Earth, so in theory there should be lots of Fenrirs in the mana running around, so I really want the ability to go with the token, especially if I maybe used the Illegal Knight already, or if I used the Griffin Negate. You can make insane usage out of the token by going for an Asa and summoning the Fenrir out. I don't even know, can you search Fenrir with it? No, you cannot search Fenrir with it. You don't have a search target with it, but that's okay. It's most importantly just there for you having the ability to summon a Fenrir out of the opponent's graveyard and have that access, because these really don't ever come up. 1 Phoenix, I just wanted a generic link 2 I can go into to open up my zones. You should probably play something with the downwards arrow, so I can even, while doing that, set up Double Cross, but Phoenix is a decent card, so I may want to play that. Other cards which you could play could be Geotransverser, I don't know, Geotransverser, stuff like that. You could maybe play that, open up some nice shenanigans, who knows. And then for the XZs, 2 Gigantic, pretty self-explanatory. 1 Djinn Buster. The deck really wants to end on an XZs, and this is probably the best XZs after Toe to end on. With most of the time just blue and jet. It's basically the only thing we can go into there. So it really helps with only giving you disruption, but most importantly giving you XZs so your double cross is alive, because a lot of times we will have Sprint in the Extra Monster Zone Elf under it, so we don't have an Link zone available to us, so we really need an XZs on the board to be able to use Spright Double Cross. 1 Totally Awesome, of course, still the boss monster of this variant. It is a little harder to go into. You need 1 extra extender for your combo, so Starter alone is not a toad, but Starter plus any extender is. But this is where the Brave package comes in clutch. This is where Fenrir comes in clutch, so you can get into your toad access. And then for the Toolbox XZs, these are pretty standard. You will see them in basically any Spright variant, which is not runic, being Unibaru and the Zeus package. Of course, it is insane. So that's it for the deck profile. Like I said, this is definitely a very cool variant of Spright in the current format. I'm not 100% sure if it is the most optimal way to go. Henchman Spright might definitely be something which right now is better, but maybe with the Shizu cards coming around, this might be the better variant. It's up to you guys. All I know is that it's a very fun list to play, and it just feels so good to play Brave again. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and deck profile. I'm trying to do more content now in the future, now that I am actually able to speak again. Hope you guys stay tuned for that. Class is dismissed. You guys are free to leave. Professor Sunreis out. Peace.